In today's video, I'm discussing a video that was recently brought to my attention made by a YouTuber named Mutha Trucker. Before we go any further, I want to give a big salute out to the Mutha Trucker, really inspired by your work. Big respect to the hustle, the grind that you put in. Very informative, informational channel. If you're interested, check out the Mutha Trucker's channel. With that said, the Mutha Trucker recently made a video where he was talking about freight brokers, of all things, are scamming truck drivers. Can you believe that? And there needs to be more transparency, which essentially means that freight brokers should show what rates they are charging shippers, what they are being paid by shippers. Now, I want to respond to that as a freight broker because that topic is very near and dear to my heart. We've talked about that before, and I've even showed my rates. Didn't do a whole lot of good, just a lot of people telling you how you should do something, but I did that to no avail. But with that said, I want you to take a listen to what the Mutha Trucker has to say, and then I'll come and I'll respond and give you a freight broker's perspective on this particular topic. So let's take a listen.
Number one problem that owner-operators in America have is that they believe that brokers are not transparent, and there should be a way for all truck drivers to actually see what brokers are getting paid so that they can bid properly.
Now you heard what the Mutha Trucker had to say. This is a popular opinion amongst many truck drivers. Here's how I see that. What that basically boils down to is the people that make that argument are saying that carriers are basically incompetent. They don't know the business well enough. They don't understand the business well enough to rely on their own rate calculations. So they need to go to professionals. They need to go to freight brokers in order to know how to bid a lane properly. I think you will have some truck drivers who are killing it in the industry. An owner-operator, one truck, one driver who's doing really well would argue against that. They would say that they know their numbers quite well, so they don't need the numbers of a freight broker in order to be profitable. What they need is to understand their own numbers. And when you understand your own numbers, you can be profitable because you know what it takes. You know the amount of money that it takes for you to be profitable in a given lane. When you understand that, then you know the value of your truck and you command the value of your truck because you understand the numbers. When you don't understand the numbers, you say things, I think, like, we need to see a freight broker's numbers before we can establish our own. Point number two, freight brokers don't get the advantage of being able to go to shippers and request documentation so that they can see what shippers have paid carriers, what they've paid other brokers in these lanes before you bid on them. And since brokers don't get that advantage, nobody gets that advantage, why should carriers get that advantage? Help me understand it. Make it plain to me. Why is it that carriers would get to see what a freight broker is being paid on a load? I want you to think about that for a minute. A freight brokerage is like a freight store. You decide whether or not you want to come into the store and do business with the freight brokerage. That is completely your decision. Do you get to go to the store? Let's say you go to Walmart. You don't get to go to Walmart and ask Walmart, hey, how much did you pay for this box of tissue before you purchase it? That's not your concern. You look and find out if it's within your budget and you purchase it. That's the same way in the trucking industry. You take a look at the loads that I have in the store. If you're interested in talking and negotiating on those loads, we negotiate and we come to an agreement that works for both of us. And you sign the documentation on the rate con and you shoot the salute and move out. That's how it works. But not giving either party an unfair advantage by allowing them to see what the other is being paid on a load. Point number three, I would argue that the freight broker is not the truck driver's problem. I know there's a lot of focus put on the relationship between the freight broker and the truck driver, but the freight broker is really not your problem. I think the problem really is, or could be, is that you've overestimated the value of your truck because you didn't understand the industry that you were coming into. You see, there's such a low barrier of entry to come into the trucking industry. It makes for an abundance of supply. It makes there be an oversupply of trucks. And of course, when you have an oversupply of trucks, that devalues the asset, that devalues your truck. So prices aren't what you think they should be. Probably, maybe, because you've underestimated or overestimated, I should say, the marketplace. I think it's important to understand what you're going into, and it could be you just didn't get that part right. Maybe you should bring down your expectations. Or maybe, just maybe, you should look to be a better owner-operator and operate your business in a way that helps you to remain profitability, because there are some people that are killing it. So that means that if there's some folks that are doing well, that would say something about your management skills. And I think where the problem really lies is most people don't know how to own and operate a trucking business. That is not a small fry. That's not something that anybody can do. There's a lot of different hats that you have to wear. And if you don't wear those hats well, if you're not good at managing a business, then it will be reflected in your profits. It will be reflected in the success that you have in that business. And I think that's the problem that you're dealing with. Now, my fourth point, in my opinion, this idea flies directly in the face of American capitalism. Capitalism is all about competing for the best products, the best services, and yes, for the best prices. This is not about giving one side an unfair advantage over another. That's not what capitalism is all about. You are not an employee. We are business owners, and business owners go in a space and negotiate for what they want. This is not about going and asking for a raise. Point number 5, I hear the argument that freight brokers are being paid more than carriers in lanes. Now, I cannot say that's not happening. I know with me in my business, I've never made nearly as much as a carrier has in any lane, right? But I do think there are times where you can negotiate more in a lane, and you can decide whether you are going to take more of the pie, a bigger piece of the pie, because of the extra negotiation that you've done on that lane. Now, that doesn't take away necessarily from what the carrier would make in that lane. If he was going to make $3 per mile in that lane, he still makes his $3, but maybe you negotiated a better deal for yourself, so you can take a bigger piece of the pie. I think it's important to understand that competition drives prices, right? Sometimes people think there's a whole lot more money in lanes than there really is, because you just think that we're getting these astronomical prices in these lanes, and that's just not the case most of the times. Sometimes we get bigger prices in lanes because of different things that happen in the lane. Maybe the load is late and has to get there in a very timely manner, like right now, and the shippers are willing to pay more. I don't agree with that argument that, hey, just because a freight broker makes a nice profit on a load, that he's somehow taking something from the carrier if you're still making what you want to make on that load. I think it's important to focus on your own numbers and where you want to be to say this is a profitable lane for me. If you get that price, does it really matter what the freight broker gets paid? So in conclusion, I believe that the trucking industry needs a restructure. I think about 10 to 15% of carriers need to go out of business. I think this will correct the numbers in the space and make for a way for the real truck drivers to make the money and have the success that they deserve. That's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you want to learn more about the freight broker business, as usual, I'll leave a free link in the description. It'll give you access to my 5-video series so you can see exactly how this business works. You'll see me in the office talking to shippers and carriers to give you a better understanding of what we do and how we do it. And also, if you want to learn more about how freight brokers go out and acquire shippers, how do we get shippers to work with us, I'll leave you a free video right here. One last thing before you go. If you would like to purchase our Millionaires Think Different merch or our Future Millionaires merch, go to the bottom of this video so that you can view it and purchase the items you want. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you all the way at the top of the mountain, because the bottom is much too crowded.